Hello teachers, learners, and parents. Sir Jeff po, at your service. Alam nyo ba na meron tayong website na tinatawag na DepEd Commons? Ang DepEd Commons ay binuo upang gawing accessible ang pagtuturo at pag-aaral dito sa ating bansa gamit lamang ang inyong mga smart devices gaya ng cellphones, tablets, at computers. Dito ay maaari nating ma-access ang iba't ibang learning materials mula sa Department of Education. Meron itong mga interactive materials, electronic self-learning modules, at instructional video lessons mula sa DepEd TV na tiyak na makatutulong sa pag-aaral ng mga mag-aaral galing ka man sa public o private school. Walang problema dahil welcome ang lahat dito. Para ito sa mga guro, magulang at mga mag-aaral mula sa kinder hanggang grade 12, alternative learning system o ALS, at pati na rin ang special education. At huwag kang mag-alala dahil kahit walang load ay maaari mong ma-access ang mga learning materials. Tama! Libre ito. Ang kailangan mo lamang gawin ay i-on ang iyong data at buksan lamang ang iyong browser at i-type ang commons.deped.gov.ph. Alam na ba ng iyong mga kasamahang guro o mag-aral ang tungkol sa DepEd Commons? I-share mo na ang video na ito upang matuto rin sila kung paano gagamitin ang DepEd Commons sa mabilis at napakadaling paraan. Muli, ito po si Sir Jeff at kita-kits po tayo sa DepEd Commons. Paalam!
Magandang araw! Sir Wilbur po, at your service. Narito ang ETUlay upang gabayan ka sa inyong pag-aaral upang lubos na maunawaan ang iba't ibang paksa o subject. Ang ETUlay ay isang free online tutorial class na pinangungunahan ng ICT's Educational Technology Unit sa pamumuno ni Undersecretary Elaine Del B. Pascua. Ang programang ito ay hindi lamang para sa mga bata, kundi ito rin ay magsisilbing gabay sa mga magulang at mga guro kung paano nila ituturo o gagabayan sa bawat asignatura ang kanilang mga anak o mga estudyante. Sa kasalukuyan, ang self-learning module mula sa rehiyon ng Calabarzon at kilala sa tawag na pivot ang ginagamit sa ating ETUlay online class. Kaya ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Ihanda na ang inyong mga ballpen o lapis, papel o kwaderno at samahan kaming itulay ang pagkatuto para sa bawat batang Pilipino. Sama-sama tayong magtutulungan para malampasan ang mga hamon sa panahong ito. Halina't matuto kasama ang inyong online tutor sa oras na ito.
Hi learners, ETUlay Tuesday is Choose English Day. I am Tutor Jamie and I will be guiding and sharing insights on creative nonfiction. Let us now turn the wheels of our creative minds as we gear up our imagination in telling our stories by writing pieces in our most creative way. Last week, we have covered some of the different types and forms of creative nonfiction. It was some sort of a review. No, and for this afternoon session, oh, by the way, the last types and forms that we had last time were biography, reflection essay, true narratives, blogs, and travelogue. For this afternoon session naman, we are going to review literary elements, approaches, critiques, and I hope you still remember them. But before that, let's pick up from where we left off last week. Kasi naiwan natin one more creative nonfiction type and form, which is testimonio. By the way, I would like to greet and have a shout out to all the admin and faculty members of my dear Caloocan City Business High School. And I would like to make a shout out as well. And good afternoon to our Super Sipag OIC Principal, Dr. Ivy Perez. And of course, to our STO Caloocan, headed by our brilliant Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Nerissa L. Rosario Sesusik. Hello po sa inyo, ma'am. And also a shout out to our participants, to our students, co-teachers. Carl Henry Damaso watching from the Philippine International English School, Kuwait. Hello po, international na ang ETUlay. Also, hello po watching from Libang Elementary School, Makato, Aklan District of Makato, Obdulia Castillo, Talunay. Ayan. Nawala po yung signal ng video. Ayan, mukhang online naman na po tayo. There. So, we now go back to testimonio. So, testimonio is actually a kind of writing which comes from Latin America. This originated from Latin America, dealing with the experiences of human rights abuse. No, so this is very particular with the Latin America. Shout out to Kate Emery. Shout out daw po. Hello, hello ate. Ayan. So, let us see some examples of testimonio. So here's an excerpt from my story of family separation, migration, and resistance by Rhea Gamana. So I'll let me read it to you. Canadians need to be aware that we are part of this system, not only here in Canada through our immigration policies, but also in the Philippines, where Canadian imperialism contributes to forced immigration. Part of our taxes goes to fund Canadian companies in the Philippines and Canadian military training of the Philippine Armed Forces to help protect those companies and forcefully displace Filipinos from the countryside through marginalization. I want a Philippines with true democracy and true independence. I want justice for the marginalized and underrepresented. Ayan. So if we look at the testimonio, it's from the word testimony. No, it really needs a lot of credibility and accountability kasi medyo mabigat ang testimonyo. As mentioned in the definition, its topic centers on mostly abuses, no, mga violation ng rights and others there. So when we work on testimony, I haven't seen a lot of testimonial here, no, originally in the Philippines, but I feel that this one is, of course, written by a Filipina. One who migrated in Canada, I think. Good afternoon, Ma'am Jamie, watching from SDOQC. Hello, Ma'am Sharon Bausa, my classmate in my MAT English in Metro Manila College in QC. Hello po. Thank you for joining me today. Ayan. So that's one of our types and forms of creative nonfiction, which we left off last time. Naiwan natin to kasi wala ng oras. Okay, so we move on to our review for today. So we are going to review on literary elements, approaches used in literary analysis and critique. No, so I hope you still remember that. So ang gagawin lang natin ngayon is more of answering some questions. No, I hope you participate. So your answers po, you can just comment it on the comment section, and then we'll do some discussion, a little bit of a review discussion of what we had tackled about these topics. No, and then please feel free to send in your questions if you have, so that we can clarify, and also please feel free to join in the conversation. If you feel that you have other ideas apart from what I will be sharing, please do. I will read your messages, no, as fast as I can kasi minsan mabilis yung pasok ng messages. Ayan. So there. So first, we are going to identify the literary elements. So parang sasagutan tayo dito ng questions, and then we will do a little bit of a recap of the topic. Melanie Fernandez Villalba, hello everyone watching from Calasiao Comprehensive National High School, SDO1, Pangasinan. Hello po, Ma'am Villalba. There. So we are going to identify the literary elements that you will see or that will be defined in each of the statements. So please comment your answers. It will really be appreciated. Ayan. So the first one is, Baka mapindot ko bigla. Ayan. It refers to the time, place, and status or condition in which a story takes place. So what do you think is the answer? I did not use multiple choice. Ayan. Para we could try to really dig into our memories and try to give what we recall. Ayan. So, hello Mark Acosta, Princess Ella de Gala. Their answers are setting. Okay? So, let's see if it's a setting, no? Ma'am Melanie Fernandez Villalba said setting as well. Carl Henry Damaso said setting. Thank you. So, let's see if it's setting. And yes, it is setting. Ayan. So, much is talked about. So, parang ano ba yan? Parang pang-elementary naman yung question ni ma'am. Actually, I always tell my students na, of course, we all know these literary elements since elementary pa. But if you look at it, as soon as mag-level up tayo, may dumadagdag. Before, we only know setting as something that tells the location in the time when the story took place. But as we move up, up to junior high school and senior high school, we observe that setting is not just about the location and the time. It also includes the condition or the status in the story. And we can do that in creative nonfiction. We can actually play around words and give the status or the condition. Maybe it's a stormy night, or there's a thunderstorm, no? Or it was the time wherein there are a lot of discrimination happening, no? So those words, those descriptions can really help set up your setting for your story. This is actually very common. Siyempre, common na to, nag-umpisa to sa fiction. However, we can also use that strategy in nonfiction, in creative nonfiction. Okay, so we have to take our readers or our audience to the same time, same place, and same condition that we have experienced nung nakuha natin yung story, or when we experienced the event. Ayan. So setting is more than just time and place. It also talks about status and condition. Next, it is the main character of a story, novel, or a play. Ayan. Super dali niyan. No? Hello, Ronel or Hornacion. Ayan. Thank you for participating, and thank you for joining me this afternoon. So what could be the literary element that is the main character, that refers to the main character of the story, novel, or a play? Ayan. Ano po kaya yan? Some answers? Queen Fiona Marie said protagonist. Princess Ella de Gala said protagonist as well. Ayan, nag-umpisa na protagonist. Mark Acosta. Carl Henry Damanso said protagonist. Let's see if it's protagonist. Ay, gumala. Ayun, protagonist nga. No? Characters can actually build. We can do a characterization of either protagonist or the antagonist or any other minor or major character by putting in details to their attitude, to their physical appearance. No, also we can determine their character by means of putting them into a situation wherein they will be in conflict with another character, or how they get along with other characters in the story. Okay? So, napakadaling malaman kung sino yung ating protagonist. And of course, although since we are doing creative nonfiction, most of the time the protagonist or the main character in our story would be ourselves. no? Or someone's true story we are telling. There. Next, we have a person who tells the story. Who is that person who tells the story in a narrative? Ayan. So, hello po muli sa lahat ng mga nag-participate, to my my co-teachers, my colleagues in Our Lord's Angel School in Bagumbong, Caloocan. Hello po sa inyo. Ayan. Carl Henry Damaso said character. Queen Fiona Marie Villanueva said narrator. Melanie Fernandez mentioned narrator as well. Mark Acosta said narrator. Let's see if it's narrator. So a person who tells, or an entity or someone who tells the story from his or her point of view. And yes, it's a narrator. So the narrator may also, in creative nonfiction, the narrator may also be the person who owns that real life story. So especially if you are doing an autobiography, so the narrator would be yourself. If you're doing a biography, the narrator would be you, but you are telling another person's life. No? And if this is like a reflective essay, a true narrative, so most probably you are telling the story. So you would be the narrator. Ayan. Okay? Sabi sa inyo, madadali lang yung mga review quizzes natin today. Next, the logical sequence of events that develops a story. What is that logical sequence of events that develops a story? Reginald Nunez Apas asked, can it be the storyteller po? Yes. If you are referring to the narrator, yes. But we can actually call them storyteller. However, it's more commonly termed as narrator. Yun. Okay? Thank you for your question, Mr. Reginald Nunez Apas. Ayan. Carl Henry Damansa said place. Ma'am Villalba said plot. Princess Ella de Gala said plot. Acosta said plot. Miss Villanueva said plot. Is it plot? It is plot. Ayan. So, remember that the story has to have sequence, has to have an event, or the events that happened in the story has to be logically arranged. Well, it depends on the person or the writer how he would want his or her story to be told. Pero however that is, it's called a plot. So we always have, hello Mr. Rance Marion A. Naue from Our Lord's Angel School. And in plot, we always have that, di ba laging tinatanong ng mga teachers natin, what are the parts of the plot or what makes up a plot? So we have beginning, we have the rising action, we have the conflict, the climax, and then the falling action, and then the resolution or the ending of the story. It doesn't change, no? Yung plot na yan, it doesn't change. Although some writers would do a flashback, but that's another topic. Ayan. Okay? Next. Here we have, what is that manner in which a narrative is presented comprising plot and setting? Yan, medyo kakaiba yung description na to. What is that manner in which a narrative is presented comprising plot and setting? Parang ikaw yung lahat na nagsasabi nung plot and then yung setting. Okay? Sige, bigay ko na yung answer kasi this is something new. Okay? The answer is in the narrative method. And keywords there would be narrative. The manner in which a narrative is presented comprising the plot and the setting. Okay, this is the method used would be narrative. Kasi if it would be like explaining something, then that would be like argumentative or persuasive. But this one, narrative, so kinukwento lang. So the method or the manner, it is the manner used, no, to tell the to show the plot or to tell the plot and to give the setting would be in a narrative method. Next. Here, it is the character in conflict with the protagonist. Ayan, super dali. Who is that, or what do we call that character in a story that is always in conflict with the protagonist? Queen Fiona Marie Villanueva said antagonist. Reginald Nunez Apa said antagonist. Is it antagonist? Meron pa ba? Kung may pro, of course, merong antagonist. Diba? There. So, let me just share. I find it really amusing how filmmakers at this time are this in this time of ours, no, filmmakers, writers, authors would actually give a different flavor or a different view on antagonist, no? Like unang-una ko nakita yan with Maleficent, 'di ba? In during our time nung mga kinder pa kami, we even have there in Juan Luna Elementary School in Sampaloc, Manila, where I finished until grade 4. Yung aming room doon would be painted with murals about Sleeping Beauty. So I grew up looking at the dragon and really fearing Maleficent. But then now it's amazing that they were able to give a different view or different point of view of Maleficent. So from antagonist, she became now the protagonist, and it's actually an explanation of why Maleficent acts that way. No, it's actually nice to not really that I'm parang pro antagonist, of course, no, ano naman yun, ibang usapan yun, but then I really admire those people who are able to give a different point of view or different twist with their antagonist. Another is ano pa ba yung alam nyo na recently na napunta sa limelight or napunta sa good side yung antagonist, 'di ba? Yung what's that, Cruella. Have you seen that movie? 'Di ba? Yung Cruella, before we all in a Disney film, we know that Cruella is someone who is obsessed with with the fur of dogs and any mammals, no? So ni-script niya, and then she would make a a coat out of that, no? But then Cruella right now, if you haven't seen it yet, I would not preempt or I would not spoil you, no, I will not give any spoiler. It really gave a different point of view, a different twist on who Cruella de Vil is. Yeah, so there. If you haven't watched it, watch it. Maganda siya. Okay, next. It is an issue in a narrative around which the whole story revolves. So what is that? This is actually talking about a part of a plot. It is an issue in a narrative around which the whole story revolves. So, kumbaga, if you imagine the plot na pa-slope siya pataas, para siyang mountain, angat siya, in the beginning, part of the plot, you would learn about the setting and the characters. You would be introduced to the setting and the characters. But as you go up the slope of the plot of the story, you would learn this would happen, no, and then the whole story would actually seem that it started with that part of the plot. Reginald Nunez Apa said conflict. Carl Henry Damaso said conflict. No, is it conflict? Yes, it's conflict. It's definitely conflict. If you observe conflict, di ba pag beginning, parang mellow pa, calm pa lahat, kalmado pa lahat ng characters, no? They are explaining the characterization of the people in the story, and then the setting. So lahat 'yon put together in the beginning of the story, and then rises to the rising action, and then yun na yung conflict. And of course we have four types of conflict. Well, sometimes we have five. So man versus man, man versus society, man versus versus self, man versus nature. And I read one resource saying there is also man versus God or supreme being. Yon. So conflict would be an issue in a narrative around which the whole story evolves. Parang if there is no conflict, parang or problem, parang the story is not as catchy, as interesting as it is or it should be. Next would be a general atmosphere of a narrative. What is that general atmosphere of a narrative? Actually, it starts with an M. No? A general atmosphere of a narrative. So I'll give the answer. Hintayin ko rin yung answer nyo. The answer is mood. Yan. Now, I came across a question na, what's the difference between tone and mood? When we say tone, when we say mood, is that the general atmosphere of a narrative, or it's the the parang yung atmosphere that the narrative or the story gives. Parang sa part yan nung nagbabasa or nung nanonood, yung mood, no? So part yan ng story, or sa part yan nung nagbabasa or nung nanonood, yung mood na yan. Parang kung ano yung feel nung story after niyang mabasa or after niyang mapanood. So yun yung mood, yun yung lumalabas. Yun namang tone, that comes from the part of the author, no? Part of the author naman yun. If the author wants to show that the story is if the author wants to show that the story is parang sad or happy or nakakatakot, yun yung siniset ng author, yung tone. Okay? There. Next po is, it is the central idea or concept of a story. What is that po? Central idea or concept of a story. The central idea, it actually starts with letter T. So let me give out the answer. The answer is theme. There. So central idea or concept of a story. Most of the time po, ang theme is just one word lang, like love, family, betrayal, what else? Life, no? Profession, those are theme. It can also be a phrase like loving a family or losing someone. No? So those are themes. It's the overall idea of the story that you are writing or that you are making. There. So yun po yung theme. Yeah. Next. So dito naman tayo sa literary technique or device used. No? So what literary technique or device is used? So you'll be reading like statements, and then let's try to see what literary technique or device is used. So what are those literary technique or devices? We can recall it as yung ating mga figures of speech, no? Yung mga na recall or na topic natin dito sa ETUlay. So we have, the room was dark and gloomy. So what would be the literary technique or the literary device that is shown or that is used in this statement? The room was dark and gloomy. So ano kaya? Yan. So let me give out the answer. Ayaw gumalaw. Yan. Imagery that is visual. Yan. So why imagery? Kasi 'di ba imagery is a device or a technique that authors use or that we use in order to show parang give picture to the minds of the readers, no? So we give descriptions that show image. Here is an imagery that uses visual kasi dark and gloomy. So nakikita mo naman yun, it's not really felt there. Ayan. Hello, Ma'am Jamie Lynn Manalili and all the viewers of ETUlay. Hello, Ma'am Angie Solano Noscal. Yan, another classmate ko po sa MAT English in Metro Manila College. Hello, Ma'am. Next, we have this one. The river was roaring in the mountains. The river was roaring in the mountains. What is the literary device used here? Hello po kay Ducati Lamborghini. Napakamahal naman ng pangalan mo ng ating participant. Queen Fiona Marie said personification. Reginald Nunez Apa said personification. Princess Ella de Gala said personification. Let's see if it's personification. Yes, it's personification. Okay, why personification? Of course, because we are giving a person's characteristic to something that is inanimate or that is not alive. No, so we are giving characteristics. So the characteristic here or something that inanimate object does na hindi naman talaga. So roaring would be, although hindi naman talaga nagro-roar ang tao, but it's a sound that is made by something na syempre alive, no? There. There is another consideration or another literary device wherein we can categorize this statement, and that would also be imagery. Imagery na auditory, no? Na hearing. Kasi river was roaring in the mountains. So if you say that, it feels like ang pumapasok sa isip ng reader would be he or she can hear the river roaring in the mountains. Ayan. Next is this one. She sells seashells by the seashore. What type of literary device would this be? This would be alliteration. Ayan. Alliteration is a sound device, no? A sound device. This is normally used in poems, but it can also be used in narration, especially if you want to put in an effect of initials, no? Here, the initials that are used that can be heard would be the letter S, no? So she, not really the S but the sh sound, no? Nabubulol na nga tayo. Most tongue twisters would have alliteration. Ayan. So, tama yung mga sagot nila, Miss Villanueva and Mr. Damaso. Next, we have, there. This naman would be some kind of a situation or some kind of a critic. So, let's find out what device is normally used in this part or in this critic. In this part of statement. The Animal Farm depicts Orwell's observation of overthrowing one tyranny and ending with another, only in a different form. The Animal Farm is actually a novel or a story written by Orwell. And this is about yung mga, if you have read or if you have watched its animation on YouTube or have read it somewhere, it's actually anong tawag yan? The story of in an animal farm, abusive yung owner, and then the animals, no, the pigs, the cows, the horses, everyone, all the animals go together and then they try to overthrow their owner, literally overthrow, penalize talaga. And then they try to manage the farm themselves. But then, of course, just like in the world of people, some people would try to get the power of those who are in the position, no, by overthrowing. So sabi niyo po allusion, metaphor, it's actually an allegory, no? So if we remember, allegory is like depicting or using a statement or a technique that is used by putting symbolism to work and to give to hide issues that are happening in a society or in an event. So hinide ni Orwell dun sa mga animals in the animal farm the issue with taking over tyranny and then ending it, but then put transferring to another tyranny. Ayon. Okay, next we have there. It's so nice of you to come in late and not be ready for the presentation today. This is actually irony and it's verbal or verbal irony. No, so it's sometimes lang it actually is referred to also sarcasm, especially if the speaker intends it to be. Yan. Next po is this. The new normal. This new normal is currently the Noah's Ark of the Philippine education system. So what type of device is used here? Dito dapat yung sagot ni Sir Reginald Nunez Apas kanina. There, allusion. It is allusion. No? So remember that allusion is like alluding something or a piece of or a character from one literary piece to another. So instead, Noah's Ark actually means a big problem or a big task. No, so if we put there the new normal is currently the big task of the Philippine education system, it would putting a different flavor for it would on it would be using allusion. Noah's Ark. Okay, there. Next, we have this one. In Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, o yung mga Harry Potter fans dyan, Harry was personally trained by Professor Lupin in conjuring a Patronus, which he used in battling the Mentors, not only in this part, but in all succeeding Harry Potter movie franchises. So ano po device or technique is used by J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter series, with this event or this event in Harry Potter, The Prisoner of Azkaban. It's actually foreshadowing. Ayan. Diba? If you find if you have watched all the franchises, the movie franchises of Harry Potter from the first up to the last movie, you'll find that everything that they teach or they learn in Hogwarts in their school is actually event and mabilis lang that they apply agad in battling evil in their world, in the wizarding world. So foreshadowing yun. Na when we say foreshadowing, it's like we are sure that something will happen with referring to the hints that are given in the earlier parts of the story. Yan. Professor Lupin taught Harry Potter to do Patronus, no, yung kanyang expecto patronum, di ba? So, tapos, eventually, ginamit niya in saving his and his godfather's life. Next, we have here, this one. We go classic naman. In Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, Romeo went to the Capulet party just to see his then crush Rosaline. But then he instantly fell in love with Juliet. Yeah. So what is the device or the technique used here? So are you surprised that hindi naman talaga si Juliet yung talagang pinuntahan ni Romeo during that party in the onset of the play, but actually a girl named Rosaline. Rosaline is a fictional character in Romeo and Juliet who plays the niece of the Lord Capulet. Pinsan siya ni Juliet. And siya talaga yung crush ni Romeo. But then when he saw Juliet na fall in love siya kay Juliet. So what literary device is that? It's actually irony. Yan. Situational and dramatic. Why situational? Situational because if you look at the conditions of the situation, the character is actually looking forward to seeing his crush. No? Iba talaga yung uh, kanyang sadya. But then tapos biglang iba rin yung nag-turn out. That's irony. And then dramatic naman because we, the readers or the viewers, um, know what is happening in Romeo and Juliet. So it's dramatic. Next, we have here, konti na lang. OT na naman ako. Name the literary approach used. So comment your answers as well. The poem Still I Rise by Maya Angelou mirrors her experiences of being abused and discriminated due to her color. So, what is the literary approach used? This is so naalala natin yung literary approach natin, biographical, historical or historicism, formalism, feminism, Marxism, di ba? So what is that kaya? This is actually biographical because the poem does not just is not just written by Maya Angelou. It's actually a result of her experiences because she has a difficult childhood. Ayan. So I'll cut my our review here, but if you want, you can actually see this material on DepEd Commons. These are all uploaded there. So let me uh, cut this short, and then we'll go to this one. There. The best investment you can make is in yourself. The more you learn, the more you earn. This is by Warren Buffett, Edward Buffett, who is an American business magnate, investor, and philanthropist. And with that, this is actually our last lecture for the school year, no? It has been a pleasure and honor to be your ETUlay tutor for creative writing and creative nonfiction for this school year. Again, I am Tutor Jamie, signing off. Stay safe. God bless. Sulong Edu Kalidad. Thank you po sa lahat na participate. Thank you, Caloocan City Business High School. Thank you, Ms. Degala. Thank you, Ma'am Nuscal. Thank you, Sir Reginald. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Ronel. Parang gusto pa ako magstay ng matagal sa ETUlay. Is this a sign?
Sigurado ako na marami ka na namang natutuhan sa ating ETUlay tutorial session ngayong araw. Tandaan, ito ay hindi lamang para sa ating mga mag-aaral, kundi pati rin sa ating mga minamahal na guro at mga magulang na kaagapay natin para maituloy ang pagkatuto sa kabila ng nararanasang pandemya. Patuloy ding sumubaybay sa DepEd TV para sa mga araling ginawang video episodes. Mapapanood ito mula Lunes hanggang Sabado, alas 7 ng umaga hanggang alas 7 ng gabi sa inyong mga telebisyon. Abangan bukas mula 1:00 ng tanghali ang iba pang aralin sa ating ETUlay free online tutorial session sa Filipino. I-like and subscribe at manatiling nakasubaybay sa ating ETUlay tutorial session sa DepEd Edtech Unit FB page at Educational Technology Unit channel sa YouTube at sa DepEd Tayo at DepEd Philippines social media accounts. Paalam!